In 7 days, Jesus will transform your life. Believe in God. Imagine yourself right now, exactly where you are, hearing these words or reading these lines. Perhaps your life has been a maze of uncertainty, a sea of difficulties, or even a desert of loneliness. But I want you to take a deep breath and pay attention to a powerful promise. In just 7 days, Jesus can transform your life in ways you never imagined. It doesn't matter the size of your problem, the strength of the wind that is rocking your boat, or the intensity of the storm that doesn't seem to pass. Transformation is on the way. Believe. This promise is not just about what might happen, it's about what will happen if you take that first step of faith. Yes, because it all starts with a simple act of trust. You know, often, the biggest changes in life come from moments when we decide to believe in something bigger than ourselves, bigger than the world around us. And this is where the role of Jesus comes in. He not only wants to transform your life, he is already working on it now, as you read or listen to this. The power of 7 days. The Bible is full of stories of transformation over short periods of time. 7 days is not just any number. God used 7 days to create the world, but perhaps you have never stopped to think that he can also use that same time to recreate your life. What is broken can be restored. What is lost can be found. And what seems impossible can become real. 7 days represent a complete cycle, a time of renewal. Perhaps, until today, you have faced months or years of struggle. Maybe the weight of your heart is so great that you can't even imagine a different future. But I want to tell you something that could change everything. God is an expert at rewriting stories. And yours is about to begin a new chapter. First day, the beginning of your faith. On the first day, something incredible happens. You decide to believe. This is where the miracle begins. Maybe you feel an inexplicable peace taking over your heart, or maybe it's just a spark of hope that you don't even know where it came from. It doesn't matter how, but something inside you starts to change. It was like that with many people in the Bible. Remember the woman with the issue of blood? She had suffered for 12 years, spent everything she had and found no solution. But, in a single instant of faith, when she touched the hem of Jesus' cloak, she was healed. It wasn't because she was special, but because she believed. Today, you have the same opportunity. Second day, the awakening of the promise. On the second day, God begins to reveal promises that you may have forgotten or didn't even know existed. It's as if he begins to open a window for you to see a glimpse of what is to come. Don't be surprised if, at this point, doors begin to open or people begin to appear in your life with words of encouragement. This is the time to realize that God is in control. As he said to Jeremiah, "I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Third day, breaking the chains. The third day is special. This is where you begin to feel like the shackles that bind you are breaking. That anguish that seemed unshakable begins to subside. The doubts that tormented you begin to disappear. It was on the third day that Jesus was resurrected. What was dead came back to life. This is the day when the transformation becomes palpable, when you begin to feel that something inside you is being resurrected, be it your faith, your joy, or even a dream that you had buried long ago. Fourth day, the meeting with God. The fourth day is the day of the meeting. This is where you realize you are not alone on this journey. It's where you feel the presence of God like never before. Maybe you hear a word directly to your heart, maybe you feel a peace that passes all understanding, or maybe something happens that simply reminds you, God is here, now. It was on the fourth day that Lazarus, who had been dead for days, was called by Jesus to come out of the tomb. When everyone thought there was no more hope, Jesus proved that the last word is always his. Fifth day, a new vision. On the fifth day, God begins to open his eyes. What previously seemed nebulous now becomes clear. You begin to see possibilities where before you only saw problems. God gives you a new vision about your life, your family, your work, and even yourself. Remember Bartimaeus, the blind man who cried out to Jesus. Despite the people around him trying to shut him up, he didn't give up. When Jesus healed him, his vision was not only restored physically, but spiritually. He began to see life with new eyes. Sixth day, the visible impact. On the sixth day, changes begin to be visible to everyone around you. People begin to notice that something different is happening in their lives. It's as if God's light begins to shine through you. At that moment, you realize that everything you've been through up until now was necessary to prepare you for this moment. The transformation is not just internal, it begins to impact those around you. Seventh day, victory. And then, the seventh day arrives. It's the day you look back and realize how much has changed in such a short time. Tears of pain turn into tears of joy. Anguish gave way to peace. Hopelessness was replaced by the certainty that God is in control. Just as God rested on the seventh day after creating everything, you too will find rest. Not because your journey is over, but because you know that you now walk alongside Jesus, that the transformation you began will continue to grow and blossom in your life. And now, maybe you're wondering, is this really for me? Can God really transform my life in 7 days? I tell you, yes, you can. Jesus is no respecter of persons. He does not choose the strongest, the richest, or the most prepared. He chooses those who choose to believe. So, right now, do your part. Pray, believe, give Him everything that is in your heart. Trust that, at the end of these 7 days, your life will never be the same. Because the God who promised is faithful to fulfill. And best of all, this is just the beginning. And if you've made it this far, I want you to know that this is not a coincidence. God works in mysterious ways, but one thing is certain, He doesn't do anything by chance. He brought you to this moment, to these words, because there is something He wants to do in your life. Now, think for a moment, what do you really want? What is your heart's greatest cry? It could be a miracle in your family, the cure for an illness, the solution to a debt that keeps you up at night, or even the strength to overcome a deep sadness. No matter what it is, Jesus already knows. He knows every detail, every tear you shed in silence. And He's saying to you, son, daughter, I'm here. Trust me. The power of complete surrender. Something special happens when we decide to put everything in God's hands. Maybe you've been trying to work things out on your own until now. Maybe you sought help in places that didn't give you the answers you needed. But now it's time to do something different. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of faith. It's like saying, Jesus, I can't carry this weight anymore. I trust that you can do for me what I can't do for myself. And you know what's wonderful? When we surrender, He acts. Remember the story of Peter, when Jesus asked him to cast the net back into the sea, even after a whole night without catching any fish. Pedro could have questioned, but he decided to obey. And the result? A miraculous catch, so abundant that the nets almost tore. So it will be with you. When you surrender and trust, God acts. It doesn't just solve the problem, He does it in such a way that you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that it was Him. The marks of transformation. The transformation that Jesus brings about in our lives is not just superficial. It goes beyond what the eyes can see. He works in the depths of our being. It's like a potter molding clay, patiently shaping something new and beautiful. And what's even more incredible is that this transformation isn't limited to you. When God touches you, change overflows into everything around you. Your family feels it, Your friends notice it. Even those who previously doubted begin to recognize that something extraordinary has happened. Imagine how wonderful it would be to be a living testimony of what God can do. Being someone who inspires other people to also believe, to also seek this transformation. The process doesn't stop. You may wonder, and after these 7 days, what happens? The answer is simple: the transformation process continues. God never finishes the work He started in us. He will guide you, strengthen you, and empower you to live the purpose He has for you. Life with Jesus is a journey, not a final destination. Every day, He takes you to new levels of faith, hope, and victory. The blessings He has for you are not just momentary, they are eternal. Remember what it says in Philippians 1 verse 6, "He who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Christ Jesus." A prayer for the beginning. Now, I invite you to do something powerful: pray. It doesn't have to be a complicated prayer, full of difficult words. Just open your heart and talk to God like you would talk to a close friend. Lord Jesus, I am here. I know that you know me better than I know myself. You know my pains, my fears, and my weaknesses. I surrender everything into your hands. I believe that, in 7 days, the Lord can transform my life. Help me to trust you, even when it is difficult. Teach me to listen to your voice and follow your ways. Thank you for loving me and never giving up on me. Amen. You are not alone. During these 7 days, you will not be alone. Even when it seems like nothing is happening, remember that God is working. Sometimes transformation begins invisibly, like a seed that is planted in the ground. We don't immediately see the fruit, but that doesn't mean the seed isn't growing. And while you wait, trust. Declare your faith out loud. Say, "I believe Jesus is transforming my life." These words have power. They not only strengthen your faith, but also pave the way for the miracle. A life of testimony. When the 7 days are complete, something about you will be different. You may see an obvious miracle, or you may feel such peace that, for the first time in a long time, you are able to rest. Whatever the transformation, it will be real. And most importantly, don't keep it to yourself. Share what God has done in your life. Be a light to others who are still in darkness. Remember that the purpose of the miracle is not only to bless you, but also to glorify God's name and inspire others to seek the same transformation. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A city built on a mountain cannot be hidden." Matthew 5 verse 14. Now it's your time to shine. You are called to live a life of purpose, impact, and abundance. And this is just the beginning. Believe, wait, and see what God will do. Your transformation has already begun. A faith that moves mountains. As you progress through these 7 days, one essential truth stands out: your faith is the key that opens the doors to the impossible. Jesus made this clear when He said, "If you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." Nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17 verse 20. Faith is not about feeling like you are strong enough or having all the answers. Rather, it is about believing that God is strong in your weakness. It's like you have empty hands, but you know He can fill them with everything you need. Perhaps you feel that your faith is small, almost non-existent. But you know what's wonderful? It doesn't matter the size of your faith. What matters is where it is placed. If you trust Jesus, even with faith as small as a mustard seed, He can move mountains in your life. And what mountains have you faced? Could it be unpayable debts, a marriage in crisis, an illness that defies doctors? No matter what it is, this mountain can be removed by faith. Every day a new opportunity. During these 7 days, God will give you daily opportunities to strengthen your faith. You might notice subtle signs, like an unexpected feeling of peace or a coincidence that doesn't seem so coincidental after all. Or maybe it's something big and surprising, like an open door where there were only walls before. In each of these moments, you will be challenged to trust more deeply. There may be days when your faith is tested, when it seems like nothing is changing. But remember, growth often happens in silence, just as a tree's roots go deep into the earth before its branches reach toward the sky. And you know what's amazing? Even on the most difficult days, God is by your side. He doesn't let you walk alone even for a moment. The voice of God in the silence. We often expect God to speak to us in grand ways, like thunder in the sky or instantaneous miracles. But often He speaks in silence, in whispers to our hearts. Remember the story of Elijah, who fled to a cave, feeling alone and helpless. God did not reveal Himself to him in the strong wind, the earthquake, or the fire. Instead, it was in a gentle breeze that Elijah heard the voice of God, 1 Kings 19 verses 11 to 12. These 7 days are an invitation for you to silence distractions and listen to God's voice. Set aside a moment in your day to be silent, to pray and simply listen. You may not hear an audible voice, but you will feel the peace of God speaking to your heart. Your transformation will inspire others. When Jesus transforms our lives, He does so in a way that inspires others. It's not just about what He does for us, but about how He uses us to reach those around us. Think of the Samaritan woman who met Jesus at the well. After that transformative conversation, she ran to her city and told everyone about what had happened. Because of her testimony, many others came to know Jesus, John 4 verse 39. What God will do in your life in the coming days is not just for you, it's to touch those around you. Maybe a friend or family member sees the change in you and begins to seek God too. Maybe someone who has lost hope will find a new reason to believe because of what happened to you. A life of purpose. God doesn't just transform our circumstances, He gives us a purpose. He doesn't just want you to survive, He wants you to live fully, with joy, hope and direction. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 reminds us of this. I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. And this purpose is not something distant, reserved only for a chosen few. He is for you. God has a specific plan for your life, something only you can do. He created you with unique gifts and talents, and the transformation that is happening within you is part of the process to prepare you for this purpose. The miracle continues. At the end of these 7 days, you will realize that the journey with Jesus has no end. Each day will be a new opportunity to experience His love, His grace, and His power. Perhaps you will begin to see miracles greater than you imagined. Or maybe you realize that the greatest miracle is what happened inside you, a new perspective, a renewed heart, and unshakable faith. And when you look back, you will see how every moment, every tear, every prayer, was all part of God's plan to get you here. An invitation to move forward. Jesus is calling you to something greater, something deeper. He does not want you to live an average life, but an abundant life, John 10 verse 10. And now, the decision is yours. Are you ready to say yes to what God has for you? Are you willing to trust Him, even when the path seems uncertain? Remember, the God who calls you is the same one who sustains you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Believe, trust and see what God can do. The best is yet to come. We have reached the end of this message, but the work that God began in your life is just beginning. You did not read or hear these words by chance. Something powerful has been planted in your heart, and now it's time to let it grow. Remember, Jesus can completely transform your life, and these 7 days are just a starting point. With each step of faith you take, He takes you closer to the purpose He has for you. Be persistent, keep believing, and never give up, because the same God who created the universe is by your side. Your transformation has already begun, and what God has prepared for you goes far beyond what you can imagine. Be part of this journey. If this message touched your heart, share this hope with others. Let's spread this message of faith and transformation to reach more lives. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to the channel right now to continue receiving words of faith, hope, and transformation. Thumbs up, leave your like to help us spread this message to even more people. Speech balloon, comment below what God is doing in your life and share your expectations for these 7 days. Your story can inspire others. Outbox tray, share this video with friends, family, and groups. Who knows, maybe this message is exactly what someone close to you needs to hear. Bell, turn on the notification bell to never miss a new video, as each message could be the answer you were waiting for. Movie camera, and don't stop here. Click on one of the videos recommended above and continue to be uplifted. Each message brings a new lesson, a new perspective, and a new opportunity to strengthen your faith. May God bless you mightily, and may, in 7 days, you witness the wonders that He has already begun to perform in your life. Believe, share, and let's go on this journey of faith together.